Welcome here to a very special edition of the Dolphin Dive. And of course, the Dolphin Dive here with you the second and fourth Wednesday of each month exclusively on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in our multimedia marketing partnership with LeMoyne College and the Dolphins. You get a double dose because we like to underpromise and overdeliver. So you just got to hear from and see Tom Bonus of the LeMoyne men's soccer history, 23 years at the helm of the team, the entire 21st century he's been there, and someone who has played for him, then was a grad assistant, then became an assistant coach, and has now just been announced as the interim head coach of the team. And we got to break that news here on Wake Up Call. Callum Donnelly is here with me, picture in picture. So you got a double dose of men's soccer today, and I love it because I love the sport of soccer. And so it's awesome to put two spotlights here to honor Tom Bonus and everything that he's done, and now to honor Callum Donnelly coming on the heels of the news of him becoming the interim head coach. So a lot of great stuff to unpack and talk about here. Callum, how you doing?
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, thank you for that. I'm good. I'm very good. Obviously, it's been a crazy couple of weeks, which probably began with Tom giving me the news about his retirement. So that was pretty shocking. But we've had such a good relationship over the years where I think we've got that connection. And when he told me, I totally respected it and I totally understood his decision. And obviously, few weeks down the line, and it's given me this opportunity to take us into this kind of new era, which I can't wait for.
How did he tell you? Because obviously, he's going to share this with you before he shares it out publicly. How did it all come about? Like, bring me into the conversation. Let us all be a fly on the wall on how he broke the news to you that he was going to be moving on from the program after 23 years.
So I was actually driving back. We were supposed to meet, and I thought it was just a normal meeting about going over players. That preseason was, it was probably at the time was maybe 5 or 6 weeks away. So I thought nothing of it. And then we actually met in Dunkin' Donuts, and then as soon as I walked in, I kind of had a feeling that there was something was going to be said. I don't know what it was. I just maybe just me. The way he was kind of looking at me, and then as soon as I sat down, he just got straight to the point. And obviously it was pretty emotional for me. I'm not gonna lie, Dan. It was given that I played under him, and also I've learned so much from him as a coach and everything he's built for this program. And it was kind of like 23 years he's been here, and for him to deliver that news to me, obviously he talked with his wife and family, but I think I was pretty much next to know. Yeah, so it was shocking, and it was an emotional time. The conversation, we probably sat there for about an hour. But yeah, it was just a really emotional conversation, but he kind of walked through all his reasonings, and I totally understood and respected it. And I'm really happy for him because I think he's really delighted with his decision, and I think I'm excited for what happens with Tom and for him to become a supporter now of the program going forward.
So you said, you walk into that Dunkin' Donuts and you could just, your intuition, your gut, something told you, hey, I mean, he's got something big to tell me. How, I mean, you played for him, you were grad assistant under him, an assistant coach under him. I mean, he has been a part of so many chapters of your life and of your connection to the sport that you love in soccer. So did it almost feel like, you're sitting there with like your father figure that's saying, hey, I'm not going to be overseeing these kids anymore? I mean, how was it emotional for you? I mean, how did you kind of just go through that moment? Because somebody like Tom, and me knowing him for a short amount of time and not obviously as well as you do, I've always loved talking with Tom. And when I found out and I got to break the news and put it out there to the public, I called him and we had a conversation off the air. So I'll leave it off the air, and just like yours was. But the thing that I took away from it, he was so kind and so appreciative. And I told him how I felt about him. and his words back were just so humble and just very nice. I mean, a person that genuinely sounded like he values other people, and it touched my heart, and it makes me sad because I'm going to miss him. It makes me happy. I mean, obviously he'll be around, but it makes me sad not having him there. It makes me happy for you. But when you were in that Dunkin' Donuts sitting with him, did it get emotional? Was it a hard thing to hear?
Oh, it was, as I said, it was really, really difficult for me. And I think like the following 10 minutes or so, or 15 minutes, it was kind of speechless. You know, I've not been like that in a long time. And obviously, as you go on, like not only am I losing the kind of, I've worked under him for so long, but I'm also losing a friend as well that I'm in the office with every day. And just to go back on, especially me being a player here, and also me being a coach as well, especially more as a coach, like the amount of things he's done for me away from the pitch has been, you know, it's been monumental. So I think from that aspect, knowing that I wasn't going to be able to work with him again, and we've had such a good relationship, understanding each other, and I think the one thing about Tom is he puts the person above the coach, which is massive for me, and that's hopefully what I'm going to try and pass down to whoever I work with going forward. Is you know, that's the main thing for, you know, family is over everything, and he was big on that. So yeah, it was hugely emotional, but as we got delved into the conversation, because I know him so well, I totally understood, respected him, and at the end of the conversation, I was really happy for him with his decision. But it's not to make it any less emotional for me, because it was definitely a tough couple of days.
You know, and you know, like you said, I mean, coming to this team, I mean, you transferred in from Weber International University from down in Florida, NAIA. And, you know, what was it about LeMoyne and about Tom that was the right fit for you to come there before your junior season and to be able to give a couple of years to LeMoyne? To leave Weber, why LeMoyne? Why did you choose it?
I think I had a couple options at the time when I was transferring, and I actually, the way it got started is I knew the assistant coach Blair at the time, and also one of my old friends from Weber actually transferred there. So that's kind of how the ball started rolling initially. And then luckily I came up on my visit, and I met obviously Blair, I met Tom, I met the team, and I just felt like there was a good environment about LeMoyne and what they kind of created. And I was there for a training session. I really enjoyed it. Obviously enjoyed the meetings I had, and he was just, as I said, it was more about the personal connection. You know, I had a couple of good offers at the time, but I think knowing that I went there, I met him in person. I met Blair, and obviously I knew Blair from Scotland, so I knew him before. But just having that personal connection helped me make the decision. And yeah, to be honest, like the time I had at LeMoyne as a player, I came in and we had a couple of transfers coming at the time, and some of them are still my great mates. We had an unbelievable time there playing. It was some of the best times of my life, and I'm really grateful for that. And then obviously the next chapter in me was helping out with the coaching aspect. And yeah, it's been brilliant. I've met so many great people along the way, and I think that's what is not only the LeMoyne College, not only the LeMoyne Athletics, but the whole, you know, the whole college as it is creates that community environment where, you know, you're meeting people, you're meeting brilliant, like-minded people, which is good.
You know, and speaking here with Callum Donnelly, the interim head coach for LeMoyne Dolphins men's soccer here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with LeMoyne, and this being an episode of Dolphin Dive. It's one thing to choose a school once, but to become a grad assistant and then become an assistant coach, you kept choosing LeMoyne. After coming here, playing here for a couple seasons, playing under Tom Bonus and the staff, what made you want to stay here and continue to choose LeMoyne? Because you got your degree and then you got your MBA. I mean, you have chosen LeMoyne academically multiple times and you've chosen them athletically multiple times. Why do you keep choosing the Dolphins?
I think there's so many things that would go into that answer, but I think, you know, there's a multitude of things about the connections with people, that I feel. Obviously I'm not from the US, so for me to really feel comfortable, you know, a lot of things need to be in place, and I think the college has given me that. As I said, the connections help with that. The academics, I really had a good connection with the professors. You know, I did my bachelor's in business, and then I went on to do my MBA in analytics. So I think knowing the business school here was fantastic, that it could give me options if I did not want to pursue coaching, or I knew I had other things that I could go on and do. But I think when I got into the coaching side, I got the bug, obviously, and just to help people out, I think that's the biggest thing for me. And there's no more satisfaction, you know, rather than, you know, winning games is great, but actually can you get a connection with the players? You know, can you develop them? Can you help them get better? Those are the things that really drive me as a coach. And I think all the players have had they've all inputted in that, with me making the decision to stay at LeMoyne, because they've all been fantastic guys that I've been able to work with on a daily basis. So it's that, and then it's obviously guys like Tom. I had the assistant at the time, Ricky Davey, was huge, and a huge connection of mine, and he's really helped me along my path. Obviously, Sean Lawler's another assistant that has helped me. Blair Stevenson. These are all assistants that, since I've been in this job, they've also been in. Anthony Scaravello, and all guys that have helped me, give me advice to where I'm at today, and I'm really appreciative of that. So I think the main thing is connections I've built along the way. That's why I'm here, and I'm grateful to be here.
You know, and like you said, I mean, connections, relationships, right? Building bridges and building those bonds is such a huge part of anything in life. And so now that you're the interim head coach, how do you look at assembling your staff? How many members do you want to have? What can you tell me about what's to come?
So we're still working on finalizing the staff. Obviously, given that the announcement came out yesterday, I can really start to push on towards that. I've got a couple guys lined up for the fall, so we're just hoping we can follow through with that, and it would be great. And it's important for me, Dan, to just get people that I can really trust. You know, as I said, as I named all the assistants there, you know, we've also had Chesko, who's been around for, you know, he's been involved with the program for, you know, probably 18 or so years. I think he played under Tom right at the start. He's been a huge help in me, and helping out the program. So it's just like trying to get guys that I can really trust. Chesko's no longer, obviously, he's no longer here at the program because of his work commitments, and he's got 2 kids. So just getting people I trust, and having that gut feeling for those staff, that are they going to help me out? And that's the big thing. In terms of staff size, probably going to be me and maybe two or three other assistants, I think.
Yeah, you know, and I'm definitely, I'm looking forward to that as we get to, you know, share that news and celebrate that. You know, people that have been able to be here with us today and listen to our conversation know that you're obviously from Boston, Massachusetts, and you know, you've been able to carry that accent pretty well from Boston. Some people thought that it was, you know, St. Augustine, Florida, but in reality, for those that don't know, all jokes aside, you know, you're from overseas, and you had made notes about that. And coming from overseas to America, there's obviously a opportunity for you to have different roads that you wouldn't have, you know, coming from Scotland. But you know, coming from Edinburgh, Scotland, what was that like? The culture kind of changed for you when you came into the States, and then what's it been like since then? Because I'm talking to you now, you're going to be heading back home. I've never been to Scotland. I would love for you to paint a picture of home, of Edinburgh, and then bring me into how you became an official Bostonian, I guess. So.
No, I mean I'm really proud of where I'm from and where I grew up. Edinburgh's obviously my home. I'm a really proud Scotsman. I'm absolutely obsessed with the country I'm from, and I think when I originally came out, I really had no intention of planning to stay out. Obviously opportunities have arose because different things, but the plan for me was to come out, experience something else with the college athletics, and then go back home, because as I said, I had such a good upbringing. I've got so many of my best pals there. Obviously my family's still there.
Yeah.
And I'm able to still go back. Luckily, I try and get back 2-3 times a year. So that's been a big part. It's obviously been difficult. It's had its challenges along the way. Just being away from family, but over the years you build up that kind of resiliency, and obviously with social media now, I'm able to chat with my mum and dad every day, which is a huge help, with WhatsApp and FaceTime. But that's kind of me being out here is kind of, it's had so many challenges that's helped shape who I am. And, I've had some bad experiences, some good, but I wouldn't change them for anything, because I'm here today, and that's helped me bridge the person I am. And it's helped me, come out my comfort zone, I would say, is the biggest thing, is meeting people and understand the new culture. But Edinburgh, going back to Edinburgh, wonderful, wonderful city, with fantastic. I may be biased, but I think Scottish people are, they're the best. They're welcoming and really humble as well. So I would recommend anyone to try and get across if they can.
And I believe that Scotland is where the sport of golf was created.
It is, yeah. We just had the Scottish Open over the weekend as well.
So how would you, to someone who's never been to Scotland, I want you to, because you said, you love Edinburgh, you love your home, and you love, obviously the country. If you and I went back to Scotland today, what are we eating? What are we seeing? I want to experience it. So like you say, okay, we're going to Scotland and we're going to go for a week. What type of food am I eating? Where am I going? What am I doing? I want to experience Scotland as best we can for 7 days. So paint the picture for us.
I think one thing for you, if you came over, I think like as soon as you kind of land and maybe you go into the city centre, you would feel this real deep sense of history with all the old buildings. There's no real sky rise in Edinburgh. It's all really old buildings. We've obviously got the castle. So I think you'd feel a real sense of history of like, wow, this has been around for a long, long time. In terms of a week schedule, there's so many, because Edinburgh's such a diverse place. There's so many places to eat. But obviously, if you wanted kind of the traditional Scottish pubs, I'll take you there, and you could have a pint with your meal. You could have a steak pie, some haggis, anything like that. So that's always something I'd recommend, because I think like going into an old school kind of pub to eat, there's no music. There's normally a lot of places don't have Wi-Fi because they don't want phones around. They want actually the conversation to happen between people. So, and then, visiting Edinburgh Castle, you can go to Glasgow. There's so many other beautiful places in Scotland, especially like up north, up in the Highlands. It's a lot like upstate New York, mountainous, so much greenery. There's lakes, locks, rivers. There's just so much you can do if you wanted to go fishing, if you want to go whiskey distilleries, anything you kind of like, or you could probably plan. The only thing you're maybe not going to get is being able to sunbathe on the beach.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And I think, to me, there's just something special about a home, right? I mean, this is my home, Central and Upstate New York, and people say, you're living in Florida and this and that, like, why would you come back here? But there's just a love and a passion. You have a passion for Edinburgh, you have a passion for Scotland, you have a passion for soccer. Bring me into soccer in Scotland. Do you have a connection? Do you have a love? Do you have a place that you're going to wear proudly? because I know that soccer has finally, when it comes to like the MLS and the expansion of it over the last decade plus, we're seeing a real appreciation for it in America, but overseas it's been like that seemingly forever. So what is soccer like in Scotland, and do you have a certain logo on the wall when you go home?
It's really difficult to describe my upbringing with soccer. It's really been everything in my life. And my dad was actually a professional. And if you think people that meet me think I'm obsessed with the game, meet my dad, and he is, he's crazy for it. But him and my mum had, my mum's always been. She's probably not the biggest. We obviously call it football. But she's been my mum and dad have been you know, the biggest supporters of mine, and that's what has kind of transpired my love for the game is I played pretty much every night with my friends, and I picked up pretty young, so I was playing for some good teams when I was really young, and that just kind of kept going and going, and obviously the football culture just in general in Scotland and in the UK and Europe is just crazy. It's like, people are so passionate about the sport, and people are so passionate about the teams they support. And I was lucky enough to, when I was probably 5 or 6, I was able to have a season ticket at my local club, Hibs. And so that's who I really support. I've got a bunch of Hibs stuff here. And then when I was young, I was actually in their academy. So that was a huge, no, I was so proud of that. I know my family was proud. And so to play for the club I actually supported, up to probably the age of 13 or 14, it was big. So it's just so much things. Obviously, my dad being involved in the sport, he's currently a scout now. He's in the recruitment team at one of a professional club, but he played, so he was honestly he is unbelievably passionate about it. I mean, I'm not sure how many conversations me and my dad have that aren't about football. So,
Well, and you shouted out your family and obviously your dad's connection to the game still. For those that don't know, would love for you to share some history of your father in the game and what he's, doing now, and to share the names of your mom and dad for those that don't know, because I like giving shout outs. I shout out my parents all the time. So I want you to give a little parental shout out here.
so my mum's name's Darina, and my dad's name's Paul. They're luckily they're able to come out. They try and come out 3 or 4 times a year, which has been absolutely fantastic. They're the biggest heroes of mine. I've got such a good relationship with them, and as I said, I wouldn't be the person I am today without the help of them. It's obviously that's the toughest thing about being out here is I'm not able to spend time with them. Obviously, as I get older, I want to. When you're younger, it's like you want to be with your friends all the time, but as you get older, you want to spend as much time with your mum and dad as possible. I'm sure you can respect that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my dad played for a couple clubs, professional clubs in Scotland called Partick Thistle. They're from Glasgow, and then Dunfermline are obviously from Dunfermline. And then he went out to Australia to play, and that's actually where me and my brother were born. So we've got Aussie passports as well. So we were born out there. Him and my mum lived in Australia for about 10 years. But as I said, my mum's she likes football, but she's just a huge supporter of me and my brother. I mean, she's everything to us, and to be honest, Dan, the amount of sacrifice that both my mum and dad have given to me and my brother is just incredible. No money amount in the world could pay them back for that.
And we got to shout out your brother too. What's his first name?
Liam.
So, and Liam, so who do you consider to be a bigger football fan, you or Liam? Be honest.
I would say Liam's always been a big fan, but I would say I'm a bigger fan. But Liam's 2 years older than me. He doesn't play anymore, but he used to play. He's actually a very, very talented player. But he just as he maybe turned 15, 16, he started to just fall out of love with the game, which is what happens sometimes when you play at such a young age. But I really wish he kept on. I wish he kicked on with it, because he was such a good player. And but he's happy now. That's all that, that's all that matters. He still watches all the time, and he's not involved in, say, the coaching aspect of it. But me and my dad are more involved with kind of, he does his scouting, and I'm obviously doing the coaching as well. But my dad also, any game at LeMoyne that we play, I mean, he watches, and then he's on the phone after, like, oh, we should have done this, you should have done that. Like, so.
That's the beauty of it, and that passion and that love that you have with your family. I mean, I live it every day. When people say, "Oh, like, how do you step away from your job?" Well, when like you are your job, and your job is you, like, when it's such a part of you, like, you can understand it, and I can respect. It's You never really step away because it's in you. It's part of breathing. And soccer has such a place in your life, and such a genuine love that you have for it, that when you look at it over time, and playing as a young kid, and like you said, being 5 years old and falling in love with a team, and then playing in their academy, and then you come to the States, and you play at Weber, and you play at LeMoyne, and then you get into the coaching aspect, and now you're going to take over a program and make history at LeMoyne. Why have you stayed in love with it? What is it about your personal journey that you keep coming back to soccer, which you call football, obviously, overseas? Why do you love football so much, and why have you continued to love it? Because to make a quick note here, I spoke to Johnson College in Scranton, PA years ago, and it was an entrepreneurship and business class. And I spoke for like an hour and a half. And at the end of it, I thought to myself, I don't know if anything I said makes sense. I didn't know if any of it got through to anybody. And I remember the teacher was like, "Thanks, Dan, for everything." And she went to speak to the class. And I said, "I'm sorry to interrupt, but can I say one more thing?" Something inside of me just hit me. And I was like, "Can I just say this?" And she said, "Yeah, of course, go ahead." And I stood in front of the class, and I said, "I'm going to tell you something. And for whatever reason, this is coming to my head, and I blame God for this." And what I said to them that day, I say to people all the time, sometimes every week, every other day, definitely throughout the year. And it's something that came to me that day. And like I said, I give God all the credit and the glory for this. I told everybody in that room, you are going to find, very simply, the reality of I love it versus I think I love it. Because when you love it, you will get knocked on the ground, and you're thinking about, how am I going to get up, and what am I going to do once I get up? If you think you love it, you're going to be on the ground going, screw this, I don't want to do this. I mean, this sucks. And I love this so much that no matter what goes wrong, or what adversity comes, or how people treat me, or the disrespect you get sometimes, no matter what you do right, I've looked beyond. I've looked back and said to myself, what was I complaining about? Because I'm sitting here wasting my energy talking about this, but I got up. There was never a question of whether I was getting up again or not. And you look back on it going, why did I care about that person? Why did I care about that situation? Why did this matter? Because it never stopped me. And if something stops you, you really don't love it. So I know it's a long-winded kind of approach to this, but the difference between I love it and I think I love it is, I think, something that you and I can parallel each other on, because obviously we love what we do.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you put it fantastically there. It's really hard to describe what makes me love the game so much, but I think it's the community around it. I think it's the being in a team, being able to accomplish something. And don't get me wrong, like you just said, there are some really tough days. Like, I know me especially now as a coach, I think you take a lot more responsibility on, if a result doesn't go well. It's like, I take it really hard, because you're looking at everything in the week leading up to it. Did you do everything you can in training? Did you prepare everyone? And at the end of the day, I think I just don't want to be in a position where I'm because of me, I'm letting other people down, because that's what, in the reality, that's what any job will be, whether you're in a management position, an assistant manager position, anything. You just don't want to let other people around you down. And I think that's a big thing for me. And as I said, when you love something so much, that aspect of it will just come with it, because you're so passionate about it, and you don't want to let yourself down. You don't want to let the other people down. So I can totally respect that quote. But I think I just love that. As I said, I love the game. I love the community aspect of it. And I think just because it's been inside me for such a young age, I just, like you said, you are you do your media, and that's you as a person. You can't step away from work at 8 o'clock at night and be like, put the media stuff to the side. You're probably going to bed sleeping about, how can I make this interview better? And, how can I build these connections better? Everything goes through your head, and it never really ends. It's just, you manage to cope with it a little bit easier when you're infatuated by it. But I wouldn't change it for the world, honest. I couldn't. I just love the game so much, and I love the part of it that help, you can help achieve something big as a team, as a unit.
Yeah, and when you look at what you have coming up here and you talk about achieving something big, there's a lot of kind of things to unpack before I let you go. One of them being that you are going into the NEC, the Northeast Conference Division I in the NCAA, probably, I would imagine, is one of the youngest coaches in the nation. So what does that mean to you to embark on this at such a young age, and at the same time to be a part of history? I mean, you are the only coach for LeMoyne Dolphins men's soccer that can ever say that you were the head coach when they transitioned from Division II to Division I, from Northeast 10 to the NEC. You will go down in history as the first Division I coach for LeMoyne Dolphins men's soccer. That has to be a pretty incredible thing to reflect upon. And I'm going to ask you about it now before you get into games, because once you get into games, I know it's match by match, but to be young, to be making history, and to be carrying a program into such a very unique and special thing that so few coaches ever in the history of anything have gotten to be a part of what you're about to do in August.
Yeah, I guess I don't, to be honest, it's still probably a little bit surreal, but I don't look at anything like I've got this opportunity, or I'm the youngest coach, or any of that. I just look at, I'm just trying to take things day by day, and I obviously I understand the program, and I understand about what it takes to try and help players out, help people out, and I think that's the thing I'm focusing on, rather than actually myself, if that makes sense. I'm more focused on kind of the task at hand, and helping people out, rather than what I've actually achieved myself. And maybe that's just who I am as a person. But listen, I'm totally grateful. I'm totally proud of what is about to come. But again, I'm not really too fazed about personal achievement. I'd rather just be in my job to help what I can, and help the program out in this period. And I'm not looking too far in the future. I just want to try and enjoy every day as it comes, really. I've worked to be in this position, so I've got to go and enjoy it, and relish every opportunity and challenge that's about to come.
Yeah, and you have, I mean, I said on October, or on August 26th, we'll step into year 3 of my exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with LeMoyne. On August 27th, you'll be opening your season on the road at Penn State, Nittany Lions, Big Ten, no big deal. First game ever for Division I for LeMoyne, going to Penn State. So we get to celebrate 2 cool things back-to-back days. Bring me into that being the first ever men's soccer Division I game in LeMoyne history, and just what your thoughts are about heading out to University Park in Pennsylvania at the end of August.
Well, first off, I think it's such a fantastic opportunity for our boys to play against some of the best players in the country, and the best facilities and everything that Penn State brings. We're talking about Edinburgh, the history, in terms of colleges, Penn State, there's with their history and all that, the facilities with the football program they've got there, and I know they do the Whiteout Stadium. So there's just all of that comes into it. So I'm really happy for our boys with this transition that, right from the off, they get to go on and play against some of the best teams in the country. And I think from a staff perspective and from a player's perspective, it's going to give us a good eye opening to what some of the teams we're going to come up against as well. Obviously, first and foremost, we want to go and enjoy it. We want to go and enjoy the experience. But at the end of the day, we're here to challenge. We're here to compete, and there'll be no different just because it's a huge program in Penn State. We'll be going there and we'll be competing for every little inch that we can get.
We see that you have, there was obviously the release, and I got to share it here, of 8 newcomers coming in to the program. You have a bunch of returning student athletes. What makes you believe that the caliber of student athlete you have is prepared to make these matches interesting and to go into Division I and be able to challenge right away?
Well, I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier about recruitment. Is, are you bringing in good people first and foremost that are going to give their absolute all? Because if you've got a team that's not willing to give 100%, then more often than not, you're not going to be able to compete in games. But I know I've got a bunch of guys that are going to give absolutely everything to the program, absolutely everything to each other. And I think that gives us a standing chance in any game we play. And I think the one great thing about the NE10 for soccer, men's soccer and women's soccer, is the competition level. There's so many fantastic teams in it. And I think that's helped us maybe prepare for building a squad to compete in that conference. You have to be bringing in high level quality players. So I think that's helped. And don't get me wrong, going up another challenge to Division I, it's going to be a whole another set of teams, different sets of circumstances and whatnot. But we're really looking forward to it. And I think the guys we've got a lot of seniors and guys that are coming back for grad school that I think are prepared for what's about to come. And I think that's where I can really rely on them to help out the whole team with getting through these some of these games like Penn State.
Can you share? I know we've talked to some coaches in our Road to D1 series, and so this is a Dolphin Dive / the Road to D1, which is another exclusive series on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, speaking with the head coaches at LeMoyne on the Heights about this move into Division I for the NCAA. Can you share, beyond Penn State, any other games that we have scheduled?
Yeah, so obviously when we found out, especially for us, volleyball and women's soccer is like finding out as late as we did, trying to get a schedule together. We were a little bit apprehensive and worried about, are we going to be able to get a full schedule here together? But luckily we've had some great programs reach out. So we've got out of conference games. We're playing some teams like Lafayette, Monmouth, Delaware, Stony Brook, Kenesha. So I think through some of Tom's good connections with all those other coaches as well, we've been able to get a really nice schedule. We're going to be on the road a lot, but I think that was going to be expected for any transitioning team, even if we found out last year, given that a lot of these teams had already had 99% of their schedule set. So we've got some great teams that we're coming up against, hopefully some brilliant facilities that we're going to see. And, and the big message to our boys is, let's go and enjoy it. It's such a good opportunity for us to go ahead. Let's not stress about the worry about what could happen. Let's just take it day by day and enjoy the journey, rather than focusing on the destination. Because I think if you look too far ahead about this transition and all the teams that we play, we're going to get daunted. But if we look at it day by day and can we look at it game by game, I know we can try and compete in all those games individually.
And we're seeing literally construction broke immediately when the last men's lacrosse game happened this season. Like the day after, we're seeing the new concession stand being built over at Ted Grant Field and restrooms being put in. Just what that means to you as well as to women's soccer, that you're going to be able to compete and be, one of the first teams out of the gate that everyone's going to see at LeMoyne, where they can enjoy this new concession opportunity and the restrooms.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I know there's been a lot of hard work behind the scenes with the athletic department and the college to try and improve facilities and to try and improve other things with this jump. Obviously, there's going to be some massive changes, but I think everyone's got to understand that we're not going to be able to build everything overnight. There's going to be little things as the years go on, but I think the concession stands a great thing, and I know it'll help people coming out to watch. And as I said, like hopefully now in the coming years, the programs both in basketball and lacrosse, baseball, hopefully they can softball, hopefully they can start to attract more fans coming to the game with some of the competition that we could be seeing on the heights.
Yeah. And I, kind of a final note here. This is important to me and important to soccer fans all around the world and non-soccer fans. Have you watched Ted Lasso?
I have watched Ted Lasso, yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts?
Well, I feel like Ted Lasso is perfect for me because I can get when someone first told me about it, I thought it was only going to be, the British sense of humor is pretty dark and pretty subtle. So the American sense of humor is very different to that. But Ted Lasso does a brilliant job of like mixing them both together, which I really love. So I really respect it. And to be honest, there's a lot of good lessons that come out of it, but brilliant show. It's such an easy watch as well. So I know me and my fiance, we really enjoy that, watching it together. So
okay, so I need you to tell me, on a coaching staff, who would you be from the show and who would Tom Bonus be?
I guess Tom would have to be, Tom would have to be the main gaffer, and I would have to be Coach Beard, given that I've got a beard and I've got to help him out. So, yeah, I mean, maybe a bit of Nate as well. I like to think maybe I've got a bit of that as well, that other side to me. But it's such a good show. It's really hard to maybe describe. Tom and Ted would be slight differences.
If there was a true AFC Richmond, would you coach that team? Would you be if AFC Richmond called you up and asked you to stand on the sideline and lead that franchise, would you do it?
Yeah, I think I'd have to do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Such a good like just the fan base. As I said, the fan bases and stuff back in the UK are really passionate. So I think any opportunity like that, I mean, you would have to struggle to turn it down.
Is it normal what they showed in the show? Did you feel like the show had a true connection to reality of, Ted Lasso going out into the community and people, calling him names or walking right up to him, total strangers, and being like, I didn't like this, you should change that? I mean, soccer is life, football is life, right, overseas. So is it that real that people are totally comfortable talking about it all day long and walking up to, a staff and say, I like that, I didn't like that?
They'll be comfortable to talk about things all day, like from morning to night. They'll be talking about the game or talking about the coaching decisions. I think you're more likely to see some, like in Edinburgh, you've got two big clubs, Hibs and Hearts, and if a Hibs manager was walking down the street, you'd probably get Hibs fans maybe trying to get a photo. I don't know if they'd ever say comment on the tactics or anything, but the Hearts fans, if they saw the Hibs manager walk down the street, I mean, they'd be giving him some they'd be giving him some abuse. So I think maybe that's what you didn't see from the show. But I think there's just so many really strong rivalries that go beyond just the game, and it's like it's really difficult to describe in the UK how real fierce and how intense some of these rivalries are. So I think that's maybe what the show didn't show as much.
Well, you've been great at answering my questions. So we're going to do a thing called rapid fire to round things out here in our conversation with Callum Donnelly, the interim head coach for LeMoyne Dolphins men's soccer as they step into Division One and into the NEC. So you could put me on the hot seat, ask me any 3 questions in the world, whatever you think about. This is not pre-planned. So go ahead when ready.
All right. If you had to do a last meal in Syracuse, where would you go? Like what restaurant?
Well, I work with a bunch of them, so you're trying to get me in trouble. I'd probably have to do a farewell tour, but yeah, I mean, man, I would probably, I don't know, I'd want to go somewhere out on the water. If I had to choose like one place, it'd probably be someplace out by the water, or it would be Alaska's in Auburn because I'm Italian and Hispanic, and they have this red dipping sauce that's marinara, but also like salsa. So it's got like a bonding of my culture together. So, and I've had a lot of big moments out there. Found out that my mom was taking me on a cruise for my last birthday. We went on a Disney cruise and she unveiled that to me while we were there. So I'd probably maybe have to pick Laskas.
All right, no, I'll let you off with that then. No,
Okay.
that's a good answer. What else have I got? What's your a game with? I would say for like a drink, if you had one drink that it could be your last drink. What type of alcoholic, non-alcoholic would you have?
Well, I'm a child at heart, and so I would say I don't really drink, and I like pina coladas and I like strawberry daiquiris, but non-alcoholic. I used to mix them, and people would make fun of me for picking. They called it like a foo-foo drink or whatever. They would always like make fun of me about it or tell me it was like a girly drink for a guy, whatever. And then I went down to Florida, and the guy goes, "You want a Miami Vice?" And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "A strawberry daiquiri and a pina colada together is called a Miami Vice." And I was like, "Why didn't anybody tell me that this apparently non-male drink had this incredible name, Miami Vice?" And so, yeah, I like Miami Vices, non-alcoholic. And to the people that were like, "You get drinks that have umbrellas in it," I said, "Absolutely." And did I collect those umbrellas as a kid? Yes, I did. And would I happily sit on a beach and drink an umbrella drink right now? I would have a Miami Vice without question. I don't care what anybody has to say.
Oh, I can respect that because I know strawberry daiquiris. I like that. I like the flavor of it, so I can totally respect that. And then the last question would be favorite vacation spot.
I'm a big Florida guy, so I do love that. But I mean, really, I like going to the beach. I want to go to Alaska. I'd love to go to Hawaii. And I want to go to Italy and Spain and see my family for sure. But Florida's probably, I mean, not probably, it's my most frequented place. It's become a second hub for my company, for Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. We do a show for Disney stuff called Do Diz with Dan. Wake Up Call has been down there a bunch. We cover a ton of teams, super powered pop. So there's a lot of things that we do. My co-host for Two Mics No Filter is down in St. Augustine. So, I mean, Florida is a big part of my life professionally and personally. And I love Disney. I love going to Disney and running around like a big old kid. So I would say that. I have one bonus question to end with because I got to know this from Ted Lasso. Are the biscuits that good and is the tea that bad? So that's the question.
Well, I love the tea. I love tea and biscuits. To be honest, I absolutely love it. And I don't know. It's one of these things that you have to. It probably takes a long time to start to really enjoy tea. Or, I mean, I suppose it's a bit like coffee, but I know a lot of people out here are like, "Why do you drink that?" Especially with like we obviously put milk in our tea, and people find it when I've done that here. People are like, "What are you doing?" Like, because
Yeah.
normally they just have black tea or whatever. So, um, yeah, I mean the bakery and the biscuits and whatnot are brilliant. I love it, and I'm, to be honest, I'm really excited to go home just to have that. And it's, I think it's like a culture thing as well. Like we'll go. The one bigger thing I think you have in the UK or in Europe, just in general, because you can walk around places, like you can just go for a coffee or a sit down cup of tea with your mate, you know, just down the street. Whereas maybe here you have to, it's a little bit more difficult because you have to just drive everywhere, you know. So, but yeah, they're that good. I love it. I'll probably have a cup of tea after this call here.
Well, all I can say is if someday we can have a Ted Lasso moment where you come back from Scotland with a little box of biscuits, I would greatly appreciate that. And then I would do my best to try and get the recipe and then make it and put it in a box and not tell you for a while that I'm not having those shipped over, but I'm actually making them myself.
Oh, that sounds good. That sounds very good. But we try and bring back some. I normally try and bring back some shortbread when I go home. The shortbread's that's probably my favorite with a cup of tea.
Okay. That coming from Callum Donnelly, once again, the interim head coach for the LeMoyne College Dolphins in our Dolphin Dive / Road to D1, and the exclusive first conversation with Callum Donnelly since becoming the interim head coach. Callum, thank you for all the time that you spent here and really unpacking so many different pieces of this journey of yours. I'm extremely happy for you. Very excited. I love coming out to the men's and women's soccer games, and I can't wait to see what you got going on the pitch here very soon.
Well, thanks, Dan. And I really enjoyed this chat. So yeah, look forward to having more of these in the future, and looking forward to having you at some of our games this fall.